For the candidate forum tonight, we will hear from Josephine County Commissioner Position 1 candidates, and then later this evening we'll invite our candidates for House Rep District 3 up to the table. My name is Terry Hopkins. I proudly serve as the President and CEO of the Grants Pass and Josephine County Chamber of Commerce. This candidates forum tonight, like many, many years, is presented in partnership between the Chamber and the Grants Pass Daily Courier. I just want to say that this, to me, truly is a testament to the importance of civic engagement and the responsibility we all share in shaping the future of our community. For me, voting is not just a right, but a critical way for me to reach out and have a voice in the policies and decisions that affect our community, our economy, and our families. The choices we make at the ballot box have a lasting impact on the prosperity of our community and as Oregon as a whole. That's why tonight is so important. We're honored to bring together the candidates so that you, the voters, can better understand their values, their strategies, and how they plan to support our community through their positions in elected leadership. I'm honored to be joined this evening by Edith Decker, features editor of the Daily Courier. Edith's career has spanned over 30 years with the Courier, and the Chamber's had the privilege of partnering with her on many of these candidate forums. Edith, if I may, I'll turn over the mic to you and let you introduce our candidates this evening.
All right. Thank you, Terry. Appreciate that. So these are candidates for the County Commissioner Position 1. We're covering Position 2 on another day, in a couple days. So the candidates who were able to come are Connor Kirkpatrick, Colleen Martin, and John West. And just so you know, candidates, thanks for joining us this evening. So the format this evening would be to offer each of you a 2-minute self-introduction opportunity, then 90 seconds to answer the questions that we have for you, and we'll draw names to see who goes first on those. Then after that, you'll have, so 90 seconds for each of those. The timer will be yellow after 30 seconds, and then when it's 30 seconds remaining, rather, and when it turns red, then your time is up. So we'll start with opening statements. We'll go in alphabetical order for that, and that's how you're seated. So go ahead, Mr. Kirkpatrick, you can give us a start.
Is it on?
Should push the button and the red light comes on.
Okay, cool. Thank you. My name is Connor Kirkpatrick. I was born and raised here in Grants Pass. I'm not a politician or a public speaker, so excuse me if my answers aren't perfect political answers. I'm a local business owner and licensed contractor. I also started a nonprofit thrift store. I'm also, for the past over a year now, I've been providing the free state-mandated mattress recycling for our community. So I've saved residents over $37,000 in disposal fees and recycled over 50,000 tons of waste mattress material that would have gone to landfill, got recycled instead. Also, I've currently been working hands-on with the Parker's Place, building the homeless solutions. I've actually cut every single door hole out of those shipping containers. That's why I'm dirty, and I just came from there today. I actually applied for the Addressing Homelessness grant last year because homelessness was the city's biggest issue, and I was worried no one would step up, so I applied for that. I didn't win that award, but I still am trying to help in any way I can to get that goal accomplished. When I'm not cleaning up the community or trying to create housing, I'm spending time with my son. He turns 6 next week. So yeah, just born and raised here, local business owner and father, and yeah, I think that's about it.
All right, thank you. And next up is Colleen Martin.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Edith and Terry, the Daily Courier, and the Grants Pass and Josephine County Chamber of Commerce for hosting this. We appreciate this. I've been lucky enough to host these with Edith in the past, so it's kind of different to be on this side of the podium. I have been almost a lifelong resident of Grants Pass. My family moved here when I was 3 from Gold Beach, born in Gold Beach, and my dad was a logger. My husband and I started a business called the Photo Den, photo electronics store, and we did that for 27 years. We have 4 children. Two of them still live in the area, two are spreading out all over the country now. And my background is primarily in business. I was a business advocate even when I was in business for those 27 years. And then from that relationship in business, I went to be the CEO of the Grants Pass and Josephine County Chamber of Commerce, where I continued to be a business advocate. And then I went to work for the Oregon State Chamber of Commerce, where I worked with, my relationships there were all over the state with the community leaders, and that is mainly what gives me the qualifications of doing this job that I'm doing now. Being a leader in the community, I have learned about a lot of organizations, I've learned about a lot of businesses, I've learned a lot of people in the community, and I think those are the strongest. Is that my time? Okay, 30 seconds, thank you. Before stepping into this role, I was on numerous boards. I've been on boards for many, many years and spent a lifetime of volunteering. And I think that's, when people ask me why I think I'm best suited for this job, it's because I've been volunteering as a public servant for my whole life. And I feel like that is the biggest piece that brings me into county government.
All right, thank you. And finally, John West.
Thank you. Glad to be here and glad that the Chamber and Daily Courier put this on every year, that you have this. I think it gets better and better each year, and thank you for that. So I'm John West. I was born on Dimmick Street in the old hospital, where the old hospital is now tore down. So I'm a lifelong person of Josephine County. Josephine County is my home to my friends, family, everyone that I know, and so my concerns for Josephine County is what is better for Josephine County. And as your commissioner for 2 years, I was able to manage the budget, manage the department heads. I was actually the liaison to the Chamber, Government Affairs, and the Economic Development Committee for the county commissioners. And so as I look at this journey, it's not easy. You don't make everyone happy. You have a lot of tough decisions to make. And we see where we're going and where we'd like to go. And what I see is we have a budget problem. We have a financial problem in this state. We have an economic development problem. We have a housing problem. We have a homeless problem. And we have a lot of problems to solve. And I believe that I'm the right suited business person to bring that with the experience that I have to solve those issues and to bring the solutions for those problems. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we have little strips here with all your names, and Terry will pick one, and we'll start the questions.
Okay, thank you. And just as a reminder, we'll move to 1 minute and a half, so 90 seconds for this next round. Same as before, the first beep is just your 30-second warning. Starting off the questions, John will start, Mr. West will start with you and then rotate around to Mr. Kirkpatrick and Ms. Martin. But starting with Mr. West, what is your assessment of the level of trust citizens have with county government? What would you want to do to either maintain that level of trust or improve it?
So what is the level of trust? I believe that the trust is not good. I think that the average citizen, I'll step back. The average citizen doesn't follow government that well, so they read what they hear in tabloids or newspapers and online, and so what they hear isn't always the truth, so they follow, and then if you're lucky, they come and ask you to find out the truth. But the trust of government should be total transparency. It should, that would begin to help the trust a lot better. And so trust is a big word. And so it's hard to get everyone to buy into what you are bringing to the table, because everybody has their own solutions, but they don't always work. And so trust is just, it's tough. It's tough, but you got to be honest, and you got to be open, and you got to be transparent. And that's how you earn the trust of the people.
Great, thank you. And then Mr. Kirkpatrick, I'll re-ask, but same question. What is your assessment of the level of trust citizens have with county government? What would you want to do to either maintain or improve that level of trust?
I think the level of trust with the county government is improving a little bit. I think there hasn't been a lot of trust. I think really when it comes to trust, I think, conflicts of interest need to always be disclosed, whether that's potential or actual. People need to disclose their business relationships and that type of thing. Also, with trust, a lot of it kind of comes down to communication. People feel that there's kind of a disconnect between government officials and the people. So yeah, one thing I would like that might help build more trust is at the county meetings, you can just do a public comment, but I'd like to see a question and answer to where the board actually attempts to answer the public's questions. Because that way, if someone doesn't trust someone, they can come and ask a question and it can get answered publicly. And that could kind of help to rebuild trust in that relationship between the government officials and the people. Because, I go to meetings and sometimes you make a comment and then it doesn't get addressed or just is ignored. So I think it would be really good to have the commissioners publicly answer questions that the public have. I think that would be good. And yeah, just being more transparent about everything, business relationships, your business ties and all that.
Excellent, thank you. Ms. Martin, same question. What is your assessment of the level of trust citizens have with county government? What would you want to do to either maintain or improve that level of trust?
The level of the community trust in government has been very low in the past. I know, and I hear it in the community consistently, that they appreciate what we're doing these last few months since I've been in office. They are really excited about the transparency that we're bringing. We are answering their questions. We're trying to bring back, so if somebody comes to a public meeting, as Connor said, there's this unwritten rule, and I don't know where it comes from, that we are not allowed to have this back and forth conversation. And maybe that's right, I don't know, I can research that. But the point is, we do try to answer questions after that. And the public has been very forthcoming in asking their questions, emailing their questions. And if they don't like something, the most important thing that we can do is communicate the reason why we chose the decisions we made. If they don't know why you made a decision, they can't understand it. And communication is key. You cannot communicate with the public enough. I have some ideas. We're waiting to hire some staffing for the public information officer to task that person with some things that are out in the community that I think are going to make a very large difference in our communication with our community. And just being open and honest with the citizens. If they ask you questions, trying to respond to all the emails. We get a ton of emails, and being transparent with that.
All right, on to the next question, and this one will go to Mr. Kirkpatrick first. It is, what do you think is the best accomplishment of the Board of County Commissioners in the last 2 years?
Well, to be honest, I've only been following local politics for the past year, so I'll have to think of kind of the past year. That's a good question. I would say, I'd probably have to say getting the Sheriff's Department fully funded. I think that happened last year. I think that would be the biggest accomplishment, getting back to 24-hour patrols. I think that'd have to be the biggest accomplishment. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. And do you want me to repeat it?
No, I think I got it. I
Okay.
think one of the biggest accomplishments we've made most recently is the airport runway. The airport is an economic driver that's really important to our community, and we don't put enough emphasis on the airport and what it can bring to the community. It's incredible, and I encourage everybody to come to Airport Days in June. I'm not sure the date, but it's in June, one Saturday, and it's a phenomenal event. The second thing, as Connor spoke to, was the district for the sheriff's levy. It gives us some balance, and it gives us a foundation that we badly needed for funding the sheriff's department. This living off of levies every 3 years is a constant drain on the community. It's a constant drain on the resources for the county because they're constantly chasing money, and having resources that are balanced, that are there, that we can build a budget off of is huge. It's really incredibly important. The staffing that we have, I'm very proud of the employees that we do have within the county. I think of employees as an asset. You cannot think of employees as a burden to you. They're an asset. They're doing a really good job. They're working really hard. And anything that we can do to build up staffing to support our staff, I think, is a worthwhile investment. We've sent multiple sheriffs or deputies to academy. We tend to lose them, so reinforcing our sheriff's department and our retention program is incredibly important.
Okay, thank you. Mr. West, do you want me to repeat, or you?
Sure.
What do you think is the best accomplishment of the Board of County Commissioners in the last 2 years?
So the last 2 years, one of the most important things as a county commissioner is budgeting. If you don't have the money to pay for law enforcement, you don't have law enforcement. If you don't have the money to pay for the programs, you don't have the programs. And so I believe that the Board of Commissioners put budgeting and finance as one of their #1 top agendas. They've made cuts. They've made changes in departments that I think was very important, that was able to help move us on down the road for law enforcement funding, which is very important. They've also set us up for, as some would say, the public works to make sure that our roads are safe and good. The airports has been a definite 100% improvement, the runway. And so we have a lot of room out there for hangars, and that needs to continue because that is a good thing. But I accredit their assets of their budgeting. That is #1. Without money, this county will not survive, or neither the departments.
Great, thank you all for that question. The next round of questions will begin with Colleen Martin. Colleen, how do you view the county, and this is specific to the county, how do you view the county's role in addressing homelessness, and what can the county government do to help?
Homelessness, as we know in this community, is in a crisis. We're in a major crisis. It's not a city problem. It's not just a county problem. It's a community problem. It's everyone in this single person in this room's problem because we deal with it day in and day out. How we can assist with that is the question. How we can manage that crisis is the question. Can the county manage it? No, not by itself. The city can't manage it by itself. It's a community problem. There's not enough resources that are going to help us to take care of it. I am not supporting taking taxpayers' dollars and giving it from the county to the homeless. I would not support that. But I do support some of the programs that are within the community that are doing work with the homelessness, and I think it's incredibly important what they're doing. I'm excited to see how this works out for the city. They contributed over $1 million to the project that Connor's working on. It's going to be, if that makes a difference in the community, we're going to have more, we can establish more models like that. I've worked with I've been on the board for Mid-Rogue Foundation. We have Foundry Village, which we could use 6 more Foundry Villages. That's transitional housing. We have Evans Place, which is a senior community. It's a home with 6 bedrooms for seniors. We're working on a 36-unit Veterans Village. So there's lots of programs in place. We just need more of those projects.
Great, thank you. Mr. West, how do you view the county's role in addressing homelessness, and what can county government do to help?
Well, the county's role, I disagree a little bit. This is not a citizen issue. This is a city government and a county government issue. That's why the people put you in office, is to come up with the answers and the solutions. It is not for you to sit back and wait for the citizens to come up with the solutions. So I disagree in that. And when $1 million of taxpayer money was spent, that is taxpayer money. So regardless, that $1 million is taxpayer money. I am not for any taxpayer money being spent on the homeless. I don't think the homeless problem is as big of a county issue as it is a city issue, because the homeless wants to be where the stores, the restaurants, whatever is. And so in the county, we have the BLM. We fund them with grant money, the BLM and Forest Service deputies, so we're doing a better job at removing those people that are living in our woods. And so, but I think that county government's role is to find all solutions and work with our state representatives and our senators and try to get new legislation passed. And I think that would be very important.
Excellent. And then final person for this question, Mr. Kirkpatrick, how do you view the county's role in addressing homelessness, and what can county government do to help?
So the thing the county needs to realize about addressing homelessness is on June 1st, when Parker's Place opens, the City of Grants Pass Police will be able to enforce the anti-camping ordinances in city limits. So that's automatically going to drive the people who don't want to go to Parker's Place, the illegal campers, that's going to drive them right outside the city limits into the county. They're going to be along the rivers on BLM land. So on June 1st, it will become a lot more of a county problem than a city problem, because the city will be able to enforce the anti-camping, and then that's going to drive everyone to the county. So the county, and really the county doesn't need to spend $1 million on a project. I think the county really just needs to update the transitional housing code and the land use, because right now the transitional housing code and the land use, it's not even transitional housing, it's transitional housing shelter, and people have to be kicked out every day. So that's really a temporary shelter. So yeah, we need to fix the land use code for transitional housing. I'm currently working on 2 locations in the county for transitional housing. After I applied for that Addressing the Homelessness grant, multiple property owners reached out to me saying, hey, we have property, how do we help? So I'm in the site plan right now of trying to do that, and there's just a lot of red tape that goes along with the transitional housing. We also need some more permanent supportive senior housing, like the Joy community in Medford, tiny home villages, or replicate the Connex boxes.
All right, thank you. We're on to the next question, and this series will begin with Mr. West. The question is, what can Josephine County government do to encourage economic development? And please be specific.
So Josephine County owns several parcels of industrial land, and they are not doing one thing with it. Josephine County could be the leader and move forward in making that land available to industrial. We have Merlin Industrial Park. The county of Josephine has 7.25 acres, I believe, there, and then they have several 5-acre parcels around the airport. That's all industrial land. That all is land available for businesses, and we're not using that. We're not even trying, and that needs to stop. We need to put that first. But the problem with the planning department is a little bit to do with it. we could speed up some of the process, but the state of Oregon is one of the biggest problems we have. And so they make the process, the permits, they make everything hard. But we need to do everything in our field to cut taxation, do everything we can to promote businesses to come here and want to stay here and want to be here. But Oregon does not make that easy because we are subject to their rules and their regulations when it comes to building and developing on those lands. And so permits is the number one issue there.
All right, Mr. Kirkpatrick, what can Josephine County government do to encourage economic development?
Personally, I think the first step in economic development is addressing the homeless crisis, because we need to develop that workforce that is not working. And because, you know, there's a lot of tourism and retirement in Grants Pass. When people drive through right now, no one's going to want to move here, retire here. No one's going to want to stop at the downtown businesses. So that really needs to be addressed. And then that will automatically lead to economic development. You know, when there's not a homeless camp downtown, people will say, okay, we can stop and support the businesses, or maybe we'll retire here, you know. So to me, that's the number one priority. And, you know, when you look at, like, when Dutch Bros, the number one reason they cited was the lack of the workforce. So we really need to develop that workforce and address the homeless situation, workforce housing, and then that will automatically lead to economic development. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And Colleen Martin, what can Josephine County government do to encourage economic development?
The one thing that we can do, the biggest impact that we can make, is partnerships. Partnerships with the City of Grants Pass. The City of Grants Pass already has an incredible group of tourism that is working with tourism projects. I went to their meeting last week and very excited. They were super excited to have somebody. They've never had anybody come and represent them from the county in the last few years. So they were thrilled to have us there. We can glean off of them. We can share resources with them. That's number one. Of course, the Grants Pass and Josephine County Chamber of Commerce, working with Terry, is an essential part of economic development for us. They are doing the economic development, the classes that they're doing, the leadership building they're doing, and planning and codes are essential. We've got to work harder, and I've met with our planning department, I've met with James Black. We're working together to make some differences in what we're doing in planning and code enforcement. We have to work with workforce and development as well. Workforce development is so essential to economic development. We can't bring in a large company, a large manufacturer to Grants Pass because, number one, we don't have the land, and number two, we don't have the workforce to support it. So we can bring in some small manufacturing jobs, some 20, 30, maybe 20, 25 employee types of manufacturing jobs, and I think that's key.
Great, thank you. On to the next question, and we'll start with Mr. Kirkpatrick. The county has over 400 employees. Do you have experience managing employees, and do you think that's an important role for this position?
Yeah, so, so I'm a local business owner. So I manage employees regularly. Prior to starting my own business, I was an area manager over 3 retail locations for a large company. So I do have some management experience, probably not as much as my colleagues here. But yeah, I think that's important. It's also important to note that most of the departments have managers, so you're working with other managers to properly manage. But yeah, I do have some management experience, but like I said, not probably nearly as much as my colleagues here.
Great. Ms. Martin, would you like the question repeated?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the county has over 400 employees. Do you have any experience managing employees, and do you think it's an important part of this role?
It's an essential part of this role. It's one of the key parts of this role because you are the CEO of a $190 million company, and so managing employees is essential. I have managed employees. My husband and I had a small business. I've managed employees there. I've managed employees through when I was at the State Chamber of Commerce. And I have been on the board of All Care. My 6 years on the board of All Care, I worked very closely with HR directors. I've become friends with 3 of the HR directors that worked for All Care. They had over almost 400 employees as well. Learned a lot of information just by being on the variety of different boards that I've been on over the years. Each and every one is a different type of a company, whether they're a nonprofit or a for-profit, because All Care is a for-profit company, and that was a really important part of my learning experiences. So I've worked extensively and closely with a lot of HR companies, and I think that gives me a lot of great experience. And of course, being in my own business for 27 years, I did a lot of hiring, I did a lot of firing. Not a lot of firing, I don't like to fire people. That's not my favorite thing to do. But I've been on both sides of it, and so I can certainly relate to both sides of that.
Great, thank you. Mr. West, repeat the question.
No, I got it. So, as county commissioner, I was one of 3 commissioners that was over roughly 455 employees. And so, over my 34 years of managing employees, I would say it's hundreds, if not 1,000 or so. And so, as a commissioner, you're only as good as the people you have underneath you. And so when you hire, you want to hire good people. You want to hire, and that's what the citizens deserve, is people with experience, people with knowledge. And so you also, as a good commissioner, you need to give the people underneath you that works for the citizens all the tools to be successful. If you don't, they fail, you fail, and the citizens are not happy. And so I believe that you have good, you have bad, but you have to be able to be strong, and you have to, as a good manager, commissioner, you have to be willing to say when you're wrong and when you didn't do it right, and you move forward, and that's called leadership, and that's what I bring.
All right, thank you. Our next round of questions first goes to Colleen Martin. What would you do to bridge the gap between the city and the county and encourage an atmosphere of cooperation between the local governments?
We're doing that. We have another meeting this week. We had a meeting last month, a city and county joint meeting, and it was very, very productive, and I'm looking forward to this week's meeting. But as I said, we share a lot of resources. We don't share them, but we could potentially share them. We developed a collaborative economic development committee years ago, and that was a resource for the city and the county. I would honestly like to see something like that come back at a different level than what it was before. But it was really a good tool when you could get the 2 of them together, because they would learn from each other. They learned whether they picked up the resources what they wanted to do, or the ideas that we gave them. They certainly took them back and used them. I remember at one point I was feeling like we weren't being very productive, but then I turned around and saw where one of the commissioners was doing exactly what we had talked about. And that was a success to me. It was a huge success to me. So just partnering, being open communication. I have a great relationship with Aaron Kubik. Feel like I have a good relationship with a lot of the employees within the city, and I think just nurturing those even more is essential.
All right, thank you. And Mr. West, what would you do to bridge the gap between the city and the county?
Well, I believe when I was commissioner for 2 years, we had one of the best relationships we'd had in years. We held the city-county meetings. Of course, the city-county don't always agree, but we were reminded many times that what goes on in the city is city government's responsibility, it's not ours. And we were reminded not to overstep our bounds. So, and it's the same way with the county. My ears are wide open for anyone in the city to tell me what they think we could do better in the county. But when, at the end of the day, we have a city government and a county government. They're probably not going to agree when one government has the authority over the other, vice versa. So you have city taxes, you have county taxes, and county taxpayers don't want their money going in for city services and vice versa. So it's a balance. You have to be respectful to one another, and you have to give each other suggestions and hope that both sides work out diligently and work out. And I think we did that in my 2 years. We were headed in the right direction.
All right, thank you. And finally, Mr. Kirkpatrick, what would you do to bridge the gap between city and county governments?
Well, like Colleen said, they began the city and county meetings again, which is great. I would like to see some agenda items on those meetings. In particular, months ago, Mayor Scherf mentioned MERL funding, Moderate Income Revolving Loan. And that's something that the county needs to partner with the city. The county needs to be on board with that before the city can even get those funds. And so that's, I think, important. I mean, that's why a lot of money from the state doesn't come down here, because it requires collaboration between both governments to bring that money from the state down to Josephine County. I mean, the money's already being given away to other counties, and, you know, we're not even talking about it down here. So, Colleen, can we get that on the agenda for tomorrow?
I'll work on that for you.
Yeah, I think that would be, and I think if there was a way to, maybe if citizens could, if there was a way that the public could communicate with those city county meetings, maybe if they were public with public comment, that would be cool, maybe. Yeah.
Great, thank you all. For the next question, we're going to start with Mr. West. Mr. West, do you think the current structure of county government and our county charter are effective? If so, why? And if not, what needs to be changed?
So I'll address it backwards. The county charter, I think, is outdated. It could use some changing to 2026. And so I would support the county charter being fixed. And then when it comes to county government, the structure of county government, you have 3 commissioners. I don't believe you need any more than 3. I think the structure is fine there. It's the county government seems like we're going through a revolving door a little bit, and so we don't. So when you have commissioners change every 4 years, you don't get no continuity. And I understand that's the way the system is, and you're not going to change that. But what this board does now, or the next 2 years, and a whole new board comes in, can get changed. I mean, they're not obligated to do anything what the last commissioners were doing. And so that sometimes causes a problem because one board may be headed down a road, and hopefully it's a good road. It's not always a good road. But so you have that issue. But I believe county government as a whole is good. It's just, I'm not sure we have picked leadership that understands how to take it to the next level. And that's what I bring.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kirkpatrick, do you think the current structure of county government and our current county charter are effective? If so, why? And if not, what needs changed?
Yeah. So I think the structure is okay. I don't think that the county can necessarily would want to afford to pay more commissioners. But sometimes when there's an issue, it seems like just 2 commissioners can kind of team up and get whatever they want done and kind of disregard the 3rd commissioner with there only being 2 or 3. So that's one thing I've seen in meetings is it's kind of like, well, it doesn't matter what the 3rd one thinks if we agree. So But yeah, I'm not sure if the structure would need to change. I know there was, people talk about going to 5 commissioners with a county manager, but that just, I think, is more expensive and just grows the government, and I don't think that's needed. I think the one thing that really should change is the regulations and the red tape, like Colleen had to do at the land use hearing today. She had to, approve the appeal versus and go against what staff said. And like I said, changing the transitional housing code, there's some land use codes that I think can be updated, and I think that would be helpful.
Okay, repeat the question.
Sure, one more time.
Okay. Do you think the current structure of county government and the county charter are effective? If so, why? And if not, what needs to be changed?
I think the structure of the county government is effective as it currently is. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of skills, and I think unfortunately we've not had the correct leaders in the past doing what needs to be done. I think that once you have good leaders in place, leadership going, that understand leadership, that understand business, that understand how to run a business, I think that helps a great deal. As far as the charter, I think the charter needs an update, maybe a little bit of a revision, but I trust in the charter. I trust on the foundation of that charter, and I believe in it strongly. And I think it's really important that any county commissioner has to believe in our charter. It's our walking papers, so to speak. It is what we have to live by. And if you don't know it and understand it, then that is a problem for us. So as far as the structure, we've tried, of the county itself, we've tried having a couple of different times, getting a county manager in place, but honestly, I don't think that's the best solution. I do feel like you're right, every 4 years you're changing and they can redo, but that's how the United States government works. You can go in every 4 years and change what the previous administration did. And honestly, times change, people change, things change in our communities, and it has to be a living document, basically, running a county. So I'm okay with it.
All right, next question first goes to Mr. Kirkpatrick. What are areas where you think the county needs support or coordination from the state and federal governments? And how would you work with those groups to address those areas?
Well, for one, like I was mentioning, the MERL funds, bringing down housing or money from the state for housing and or homelessness. I don't think the county needs to necessarily spend money. There's grant money from the state, or there's other state and federal money. So yeah, I think it's important to identify grants that the county needs, and whether it's federal or state, and go after those grants or other funding sources. Yeah.
All right, Colleen Martin, I'll repeat it.
Okay.
What are areas where you think the county needs support or coordination from the state and federal governments? And how would you work with those governments to address those areas?
We're already working with the state in many different directions. I would like to see more. Number one key would be communication with our state representative and our state senators. I think that's essential. And unfortunately, for some reason, we're not getting that very well. So I would, number one, that would be what is most important. As far as the federal government, I think that there's some gaps there. There's a lot of gaps there as well. But how well we can communicate with them, I'm not even going to go into that. But what I would suggest is we need to work closely with them. We do have a liaison from the governor's office that works she actually lives in Grants Pass, the Grants Pass area, and I've learned to rely on her for some of the things that I need. I'm trying to remember her title off the top of my head, I can't remember, but she's a liaison to the government's office, and I've immediately reached out to her for DEQ questions. She called me back. This week I've got a meeting. I sent an email Friday. I have a meeting as of today for this week to react and act on some things. So you have to be open to the communications. You've got to be able to send an email, and you have to have them to be able to respond. But we do need the support of the state. And Connor's right. If there's some grants, we need to be able to know what the monies are we're able to bring back to this community. I know John and I are going to disagree. Never mind.
Thank you. All right, John West, do you want me to repeat it one more time?
Sure.
Okay. What are the areas where you think the county needs support or coordination from the state and federal governments, and how would you work with those governments to address those areas?
So when I was commissioner, and still today, I have a very good relationship with our Congressman Cliff Bentz. And so I have a great relationship with Noah Robinson and Dwayne Yunker, our state representative. And I've never found that as commissioner, that when you reach out to them, they'll get back to you. And they're more than willing to listen, they're more than willing to work with you, but you have to be willing to step forward and to make those relationships and build those relationships. And I don't think that that's happening at this point, because I don't think one is the previous administration before this term understood how to do that. And this board right now, they got a burr in their saddle, so they got some other agenda, and I don't think that they're even going that direction. So I think that we can work together with those three, and I also had good conversations with the governor's assistant there, and so I think it takes total coordination and effort on the commissioners to work overtime in there to bring back the money, to bring back everything that we can get. And remember, the money you bring back is taxpayer money.
Okay, this will be the final question. We'll start with Colleen Martin, and then after the final question, we'll take just a second, but then you'll all have 1 minute for closing comments. But for final question, starting with Colleen, do you support the animal shelter and animal protection levy that will be on the May ballot, and why?
We have a crisis in this community, another crisis. Besides the homeless, we have a homeless animal crisis. So we have the human crisis and the animal crisis. And part of that crisis is stemming from spay and neutering. Nobody's doing that anymore. It's become costly. We have a veterinarian problem in this community. So it's cost hundreds of dollars to spay and neuter animals. And people love to get little puppies and little kitties, and they're so cute for a little while, and then after a while they just end up dropping them off, and they end up at the Humane Society. The Humane Society, Josephine County Animal Control is asking, they're currently at 11 cents. They're asking for 5 cents more, and that will help them work through getting some of the spay and neutering. They don't have an adequate space where they're at now. That building's been there since the 1960s. So the short answer to your question is I do support that. I support anything that is going to help that animal shelter get back on their feet. They are all working incredibly hard out there. And it's as serious as our homeless problem. If you look around with cats in neighborhoods, feral cats, when you go on a walk, you'll find cats, you'll find lost dogs. Yes, I think it's important to support it.
Again, John?
No, I think I got this. So I support the animal shelter 100%. What I don't support is raising taxes because there's no reason to raise taxes. The county government has the money. We need to take money that we have and not put into hiring more people and move it into infrastructure. So we would help that animal shelter. The county commissioners have usually $1 million to $1.1 million budgeted in what they call general government. They could take out of that fund today, not a mid-year budget adjustment. They don't have to. That is their own fund. They can take out of that and they can move money to the animal shelter, which is called a crisis, and address it today. You don't know if the citizens are going to want to raise taxes or not. So get ahead of the program, get ahead of it. And so We've been trying to convince the commissioners not to spend money like $68,000 of joining a membership of O&C counties. We get nothing for it, zero. We could take that $68,000, move it to the animal shelter. We just can do better. We can do better for the animals. We can do better for the people at the animal shelter. 5 cents, Commissioner Martin agreed with me in a WBS that 5 cents isn't enough. So why are we not asking for enough? That would be my question.
Excellent. You want me to repeat it, Connor?
So I spoke at the meeting when they brought up the animal shelter, and so I think no one wants more taxes, but it's a really small increase and it's a needed increase. The county's required to support the animal shelter, so the money would have to come from somewhere. And like I said, it's a lot smaller than the previous. There was a previous animal shelter that was a lot higher. It's a really small increase, I believe. But also on that note, I brought up at the meeting that maybe there'd be an opportunity for the animal shelter to partner with the jail, and the jail could take some of the hard to adopt animals like the skittish cats or the dogs that are kind of on their way out, and the inmates could help rehabilitate these animals or take care of these animals, get them more used to people. Programs like this work across the nation, and it reduces inmate violence. It also opens up the door to other funding. You could access inmate welfare funds because it improves the lives of the inmates. And then it also would open the door to more federal grant funding for both the jail and the animal shelter.
Okay, thank you. Moving into closing statements, we'll start with Mr. West and just go in the same order we have, but you've got 1 minute.
So thank you. I want everybody to realize that county government, county commissioners are your executive, legislative, and judicial branch. They're all three. And so as your county commissioner, I will manage your money appropriately. I will manage it in a positive manner. And remember, if county government does not manage the money and have the funds available, public safety does not exist. Public safety does not exist without the county commissioners budgeting the money and giving the money for the public safety and the rest of the departments. They also have to sign the grants without the commissioners. And so you need somebody that understands and knows what they're doing. I'm the person that knows that. I've got the most experience of anyone running for commissioner, and I would just ask for everyone's vote for John West as county commissioner.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Kirkpatrick.
I guess I would just say that regardless of if I get the seat or not, I'm going to continue doing what's best for the community. I'm going to continue to try to build affordable housing, transitional housing, permanent supportive senior housing. I'm going to continue to clean up the community like I've been doing with my company for the past 5 years. I'm going to continue to offer the free mattress recycling and any other way I can help cut costs for the residents. And I'll still, regardless, I'm going to still come to the meetings and provide these guys with my suggestions. So yeah, I know I don't have experience. I'm not a politician, but yeah, vote Connor Kirkpatrick.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming, Connor, and I will answer your questions. So my mother taught me kindness and to never speak badly about other people. Treat people the way you want to be treated. My father taught me the value of hard work and showing up no matter what. Those lessons have stayed with me, and they guide how I live, how I lead, and how I plan to run this county and how I am running the county now. Restoring trust and stability is key to me. Prioritizing public safety is the #1 job that we have to do, and finding funding for that. And then there's all of the other things that fall in from the other 17 departments that we have to find funding for. And ensuring fiscal responsibility. Mr. West can give you some short-term fixes, but I'm in it for long-term sustainable funding for this county that we can have as a foundation. And then strengthening our economic development is key, and it's important, and that is how we're going to move forward.
All right, thank you. With that, we conclude the forum for County Commissioner Position 1, and we'll soon invite candidates for House of Representatives to join us. We would like to thank the candidates for County Commissioner and the attendees for their participation, for their deeply held commitment to their ideals, and their collective concern for the betterment of our county. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, candidates, thank you for joining us this evening. We're going to follow the exact same format that you just saw, which will offer each of you a 2-minute self-introduction. We'll go into a series of questions where you'll have 90 seconds each, and then 1 minute for closing comments. The timer is going to be green. When it goes yellow with 1 beep, that's your 30-second warning, and then red, you are done. If I could introduce our candidates this evening representing House District 3. We have with us Seth Benham, Susan Fisher Mackey, and Representative Dwayne Yunker. Got to make it random.
Drawing it out of the hat.
Okay, we're going to start self-introductions with Susan Fisher Mackey. If we could start, give us 2 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the Chamber. Thank you to our Daily Courier. I'm Susan Fisher Mackey. I grew up in Medford, which may not seem like a natural place to start a conversation here in Josephine County. But what it means is that I know that a little rivalry and a lot of hometown pride are what makes Southern Oregon so special. I was shaped by Sundays in the Applegate with my grandparents, fellowship at faith communities that centered community service, and experiences in both public and private schools. Watching my mom's work as a nurse taught me the value of hard work and for caring for others, and that's where my roots as a Democrat come from. It was her union job that provided our family financial stability. My professional work has focused on direct service to children and families, community building, and I've owned 2 small businesses. My work in Josephine County started 15 years ago, and after meeting my husband, Jason, this has been home. We're raising our 2 children here, and we're supporting our parents as they age. I'm old school. I believe that the most qualified person should get the job. My character, my breadth of experience, and the results I've supported in this community set me apart as the most qualified candidate to be our representative. I've stepped into this race because our representative is not doing their job if their energy is focused on pointing out deficiencies, priding themselves on saying no, but not contributing to the work of improving things. I'll bring solutions forward, some of that based on my own lived expertise, but much of that from being connected to you, those who live and work here. My promise is I will always maintain the focus of increasing opportunities for our district's future.
Thank you. We will move on to Representative Dwayne Yunker.
That's okay. I should know better.
It's also for people online.
Yeah. I'm running for state representative because Josephine County needs strong, consistent leadership now more than ever. Right now, Oregon is under one-party control, from the governor's office all the way down to the state agencies. And the results speak for themselves. Costs are rising, businesses are under pressure, and our education system continues to fail. In fact, Oregon ranks 48th in education and 47th in business friendliness. That's not acceptable, and it's not the direction we should be heading. That's why I stepped forward in the first place. That's why I'm running again. When I got to Salem, I didn't go there to go along. I went there to be strong, and I built one of the strongest conservative and freedom-based voting records in the state house. Standing for lower taxes, small businesses, public safety, and the values matter here at most. And my record speaks for itself. It speaks with the relationships I've built across the aisle. That's why I'm endorsed by the Oregon Coalition of Police and Sheriffs Association, by the Oregon Right to Life, the Oregon Taxpayer Association, and the National Federation of Independent Businesses, who give me the top score. But I didn't just vote. I delivered. We need to turn things around. We need to get serious about the education again. We need to take the pressure off of businesses and families. And we need to ensure balance and accountability of the state government. And that's exactly what I didn't just talk, I took action. I helped the local referendum stop the gas tax, saving families around $500 a year. I filed a referendum on the tax clawback on businesses. That was Senate Bill 1507 and Salem's overreach, and I take it straight to the people. And I want to thank the Chamber for helping me with that.
Okay. Candidate Seth Benham.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce and the Daily Courier for putting on this event, and thanks for having me. My name is Seth Benham, candidate for Oregon State Representative for House District 3. I'm a third-generation Josephine County native. I was born and raised here, and lived here my entire life with my wife and 2 daughters. And raising them here has been a joy, and I want this place to be somewhere that they also would like to continue on. Being raised here, my foundation comes from conservative Republican values. I've always been a conservative, always been a Republican. I've grown up that way. In high school, I was the president of the Young Republicans Club when that existed, and currently I'm endorsed by the Young Republicans of Oregon as well. I'm pro-life. I'm a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment. I'm about protecting our children and our parental rights, and of course, I want less taxes. My approach, I think, is what makes me different and what makes me someone that should be considered for this position. I've the last 12 years spent building coalitions, bringing people to the table, and not burning bridges. That's not who I am. That's not what I want to do. I want to listen first as well. I think listening is something that we've lacked in politics, locally and nationwide. And so that's something that I want to focus on in my approach. I'm a results-driven person. I came to this place with experience. I've been a business owner for 12 years. Small business owner. I've been the CEO, I've been the HR director, I've been the finance director, the marketing director, and at some points, the janitor. So, in a small business, you kind of have to do a little bit of everything. I've had people on payroll and supported their lives as well. I've been on city council for 1.5 years now. We've had some great successes as well. We've hired 12 new police and fire without raising taxes. We've updated city ordinances to support law enforcement, and we've made progress on the homelessness crisis, albeit painfully slow, and it's not an easy road, but we have made progress and we will continue to do so. So thank you.
All right, thank you. That's the end of the openings, and now we'll begin with our questions. We're going to again start with you, Susan. So what do you believe are the core responsibilities for someone elected to the Oregon House of Representatives?
Thank you. So the core responsibilities for someone serving as the representative for House District 3 is, 1, to make sure that you are following the Oregon State Constitution. 2, to make sure that you are contributing to processes of looking for new legislation that is going to move forward the ideas of every voter in your community. And from that, that means that 3, you need to be connected to your community. You need to have respect for every voter, regardless of which zip code they live in, what stage of life they are in, or what side or point along the political spectrum they are from. As representatives, you also have the opportunity to, and the responsibility to set the state budget. And I believe that beyond the legislative session, we talk a lot about that, but there are budget notes. There are ways that you can hold state agencies accountable. I think it's essential to have a representative who understands the ecosystem of state agencies, the processes of rulemaking that come after laws are passed, after budgets are set, so that your representative can lift up your voice and intervene in places where programs are not going well, or to encourage Salem when things are actually benefiting our community members here.
All right, thank you very much. Dwayne Yunker, what do you believe are the core responsibilities for someone elected to the Oregon House of Representatives?
Thank you. Under the Constitution, there's one thing that's the core, and that's to balance the budget. That's my core responsibility as a state representative. It's not to pass laws first. It's not to do anything else. It's to pass a balanced budget. And that's why we do that every year. Even on the short session, we rebalance the budget. But I think there's more than just balancing the budget. I think there's about fixing things that are wrong with our budget. Our budget is $140 billion. It's doubled in 10 years. If you count inflation, it should be $107 billion. And this is what an idea I have for next session, because we're already preparing for next session for legislation, for laws. And this is what I'm going to have, results-based budgeting, budget that's tied to performances, because we have a performance, and a lot of our agencies are not meeting them. This is a simple idea. State-owned agencies only get funded if they meet clear, measurable outcomes. Set performance targets, graduation rates, homeless reduction, requires annual reporting to the legislature and allows funding cuts if reallocated if the goals are not being met. If it's not working, it shouldn't keep moving forward. It should be gone. And that's not what's happening in Oregon. We keep funding bad legislation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Seth Benham, what do you believe are the court's responsibilities for someone elected to the Oregon House of Representatives?
Yeah, I think the core responsibilities, number one is strong leadership. This is not a position to be taken lightly. You represent a lot of people. You represent people across Oregon, but you also represent people locally. And so I think that, like I said, representing Oregon is a piece of it, but also focusing on our district and making sure that our needs are being met as well and that our voices are being heard in Salem. And that comes in a lot of different ways, through legislation, through building coalitions and making sure we have the right connections with state departments and other things like that. I think, it requires strong communication, not only within Salem, but also within our local community, with the constituents, but also with other elected officials. I've seen it firsthand, just the lack of communication, the lack of willingness to work together, whether it be from city council, commissioner, up to state rep, senate. I think we need to also stand strong in our values. This is a bipartisan this is a partisan position, so we have to stand strong in values when we're in Salem, but we also have to be willing to listen to other people, even if we disagree across the board, just taking that time to listen. And then, of course, hold the state accountable, set the budget, balance the budget, and make sure, we're not overspending. And, at the end of the day, hopefully bring taxes down. Obviously, the state of Oregon is in kind of a crisis mode right now when it comes to livability and taxes and the cost of living, so we need to work on that.
Excellent. The next question, we're going to begin with Dwayne Yunker. Mr. Yunker, District 3 includes some of the poorest zip codes in Oregon. What can you do in Salem to address poverty, support businesses, and promote economic development in District 3?
Thank you for the question. I've given that speech several times about the 5 of the 6 poorest zip codes actually in Josephine County. O'Brien, Kirby, Cave Junction, and Wolf Creek and Sunny Valley, even though they're not in my district, are some of the poorest zip codes in the state. I've been a strong voice for that. And actually, this year I passed Senate Bill 1585. I was a key sponsor in that bill, and helps places like Cave Junction. And what it does, it reduces the amount that Cave Junction will need to come forward when they want to build infrastructure or water or roads. And it lowers the threshold where cities like Grants Pass or Medford don't have those capabilities. That's what I could do, and that's what I've been doing, is helping those things there. And I've had a pretty good relationship with Cave Junction. They've had some overturn lately, trying to get them help, but they're doing kind of a turnover in the last year or stuff of some of their things, and I hope that we can continue to work out in that area. That is the poorest area. And we're doing great things out there. We have workforce out there with Rogue Truck Body. Keith Hill is a great friend of mine. He's got expanding, but we need to get more people that want to work. That's usually the problem out there, is people that want to work. Great jobs that start at $28 an hour, after 90 days go to $30 an hour. Where can you go with that for businesses that start out in Cave Junction? That's the best place. And people should be knocking on the door, wanting to expand and help Keith Hill out there, Rogue Truck Body. And I've been working with Keith for a couple years now, and I'm glad that he's a good friend. Thank you.
Excellent. Mr. Benham, want me to repeat the question?
Sure.
Okay. District 3 includes some of the poorest zip codes in Oregon. What can you do in Salem to address poverty, support businesses, and promote economic development in District 3?
Yeah, I think, in Salem, it's important, and across Oregon, right now, we're 47th overall for business friendliness, and so that's something we have to change. We're at the bottom of the barrel. We have to turn things around in Oregon. Businesses are what makes life go, economics, and put money in people's pockets. So we need to focus on that. We need to bring money back from Salem for certain projects, for infrastructure projects, to increase our infrastructure, like the industrial lands projects we just secured. Those are the types of things, that will allow us to bring companies from out of the area, hopefully, or, even invest in companies that are local that can then grow and expand and hire more and bring on more people at a decent paying wage. So those are huge. I think, the housing crisis we face right now is also something that's hindering and bringing our, economics down here. And there's a lot of things there. I think the affordable housing, the way it currently sits, I think we need more accountability on that front when people get into these affordable housing units and how we can actually lift them out of those situations. But also we need to cut regulations and pull those back for new developments for market rate housing. Every year, I think on average, it's about $1,500 of new fees and on a new price of a home just through legislation passed in Salem. And so, those are all the things, some of the things, it's not all of it, but some things that I think we need to focus on and pull back.
Great, thank you. And would you like the question?
I'm ready to go.
Go for it.
Awesome. So I'm going to pivot just a bit because I just want to call out that I think one of the most important things we can do, whether we're talking about helping people lift out of poverty and become contributors to our community, we're talking about economic development, I think the number one thing we can do is say yes, and then we follow it up with tell me more about that opportunity. I think we need to believe in people. People want to do well when they have pathways to do that. I also believe that Salem wants communities to do well, and we should be leveraging every opportunity possible coming out of Salem. That doesn't mean that we don't trust but verify, but we need to be saying yes. I think we need to be really clear. Representative Juncker spoke to our $140 billion biennial budget. We are about to see massive decreases in federal funding to our communities. And regardless of how you feel about that, what that means is we're going to see poverty increase. We need to be ready to support our local network of community-based organizations and the amazing numbers of public servants who are funded by state agencies. We're going to see reductions, and that needs to be driving what we're thinking about as we're thinking about the future of poverty and development of our economy here in this community.
All right, thank you. We're on to another question. We'll begin with Mr. Benham. Do you believe that compromise is necessary or desirable for policymaking?
No, I don't think compromising is necessary. I think that's something that's been brought up a lot, especially in my race, is the fact that, you go to Salem with a set of values and a set of thoughts, and that you have to compromise. Like I said in the intro, approach and how I navigate and bring people together is what I've prided myself on for the last 12 years. I think that's a huge part of it. I mean, truthfully, running a business, starting a business even, it's really about who you know. And it's about building those connections. It's about selling your product, your service, and convincing someone else that, this is what they need to purchase. And so I think in Salem, it's something like that. We need to go up there. Yeah, we have our values. We stand firm on them. But you need to go to the table. You need to listen too, I think, is a huge one. We need to listen. I'm not going to go up there and yell. That's not who I am. I've never been that. I'd rather sit there and listen. Again, even if I don't agree with anything someone has to say, hopefully I can present my case in a way that will at least get them to consider and at least get them to think a little bit about it and potentially, budge on their end. Again, I think it's about building coalition, and that's what I'm going to do.
All right, thank you. Ms. Fisher-Mackey, do you believe that compromise is necessary or desirable for policymaking?
Yeah, in the complex ecosystem that is Salem, I do believe that compromise is necessary. But compromise in a given policy within a session or in your work with agencies doesn't mean that you compromise the advocacy for this community. We know that variables in Salem are shifting all of the time, and that needs to be part of your representatives' thinking as they're coming forward and advocating for issues. I will say that I believe that that is a benefit of having your representative be in the majority party so that I can represent our voices in rooms early when policy decisions are being shaped formed, and negotiated. I believe that there would be power for our community to have me in those rooms representing us.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Juncker, do you believe that compromise is necessary or desirable for policymaking?
I would say no, compromise is not acceptable. What is acceptable is relationships up there that I've built. There's a few wins every time we go up there that we have certain people that understand businesses like our community. I would say that those are wins, and those are not compromises. Those are understanding what's best for our communities. And I'd say that because most people don't understand the floor or the makeup of Salem. We, as a Republican, are in a super minority there. They have a super majority. And that's why they passed this tax stuff on us, because they don't care about what Republicans think. But I know businesses do. And that's why I have the strongest voting record. And today I was given some really great news about my hard work up there. The State Chamber of Commerce gave me a 100% record score on my voting record, business friendly. And I want to thank them for that, because I'm always standing strong for businesses. And that's not compromising. That's standing strong on what works and what doesn't work. And we know what's not working in Salem, and we know what's not working in Oregon, is the bad policies coming out of Oregon. Like we've all talked about it. Democratic policies are killing this state. Today I looked at the Oregonian. We are 6% higher than every other state when it comes to retail vacancies in this state. And it's probably more in Josephine County. And I know I'm running out of time, so I'll stop.
Okay, thank you. We'll start the next question with Ms. Fisher-Mackey. If you knew you could get one bill passed in the upcoming legislative session, what would that bill be?
If I could get one bill passed in the upcoming legislative session, it would be to comprehensively support families during the perinatal period, from the time that they find out they're about to have a baby till just after 1 year of birth. I think as we look at our state and our nation's economic future, we know that the return on investment when we invest in the health and the connection, the stability of families, that helps children grow into healthy, contributing members of our society. I think in order to do that, our state would need to invest in traditional health workers. They would need to take a hard and fast look at the administrative burden for our local providers of those services. And I think that it would also require a welcoming in of families so that we destigmatize getting services in that really important period of a family's life.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Juncker, if you knew you could get one bill passed in the upcoming legislative session, what would that be?
That would be my taxpayer transparency dashboard. I already got it ready for next year. Public, easy-to-use website showing exactly where your state money is going, down to the project level. What it does, it lists all funded projects, tracks progress, outcomes, show cost overruns and delays. Simple. If you're paying for it, you should be able to see it. In Oregon, in the state legislature, we keep funding projects that keep changing prices. Abernathy Bridge, everything keeps adding up. We need transparency. Instead of just keep throwing money at them, taxpayers need to know where our money is going. There is waste and so much out there. Waste in the Oregon Health Authority. Oregon Health Authority is 1/3 of the state's budget. There is so much weight in Medicaid fraud. There's so much fraud in so many different things. And it's your taxpayer dollars. You should have accountability of where every taxpayer dollar goes every day. That's why our budget's so bloated, because we're not doing accountability of where our money's going. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Benham, if you knew you could get one bill passed in the upcoming legislative session, what would it be?
Yeah, so if I get elected to this seat, first off, I would want to not necessarily look at passing legislation, rather look at what legislation currently exists and how we can kind of take some of that back, repeal some of that, and pull back. And so some of those would be obviously House Bill 3115, which has already been attempted multiple times, but we need to continue to work on it. And this is the bill that puts cities like Grants Pass where we are with the homeless crisis. It ties our hands regardless of what people want to think. We still have to follow state law. And so that is one bill that I'd want to repeal. Also, the CAT tax, the corporate activity tax, that's a 0.5% tax on any on your gross receipts over $1 million. So that's if you make $1 million, but you have $700,000 in expenses, you still get taxed on the million, which is crazy. If you've owned a business, if you own a business, you know how much that is. And we currently rank 49th overall in corporate tax, so we need to repeal that. And then also we need to repeal the death tax. We have the lowest exemption in the United States currently, which means we're the worst. So anything over $1 million, you're taxed upwards of 16% on, and that's just for passing away, unfortunately. And that's all your assets. And nowadays, with the costs of everything and how much things are evaluated at, it hurts. It hurts the middle-income families. And so we need to repeal versus focus on versus adding to it.
All right, thank you. For our next question, we'll begin with Mr. Yunker. The question is, what strategies or resources have you used or would you use to stay connected with constituents to ensure their voices are heard?
Great question. What I do right now is, if you go on my website, on the state website, under OLIS, you can find my name, every representative's name's there. And you go on there and you ask for my newsletters. We try to put out newsletters pretty often. Sometime we're in session, it's every couple of weeks, sometimes weekly. We put those newsletters out. We're still putting them out right now. What things are going on in the state, what's coming up, what's not coming up. That's the best way to stay engaged with what's going on. There's also on that website, it tells you how to contact your legislator. You can go on there, you can write an email to me. We respond back to you. And especially, we deal with, most people don't understand this, we're dealing daily with people's problems here in Josephine County. Unemployment problems, I get them pretty much daily. Unemployment problems, the state agencies are not responding back. We help those. Permitting processes, we get involved with those. We have state agencies processes. Those are the ways to get a hold of me, is through those things. You got to remember, state legislators are a part-time position, so we have a full-time people that work for us, and those people are answering questions. They're the backbone of getting back to you every day. I see those things, but again, they're the full-time employees working for you too. We do get a staff that helps with those things, so I appreciate. And if you are not on that, please become a part of my email, and we'll put those things out to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, Mr. Benham, what strategies or resources have you used or would you use to stay connected with constituents to ensure their voices are heard?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, social media, right? Today, everyone uses social media, so that's an easy one that we can easily get to. But beyond that, community engagement, I've been on council for 1.5 years now, and I really pride myself on being involved. And so that means I'm accessible. I mean, you can come downtown. I'm down here most days. I have an office downtown. I invite people to meet with me, invite people to sit down for coffee, and I invite people to send an email, even text me. I really don't care. And so I think, for me, it's really about that, just being in the community and being seen in the community, and being able to listen to people as much as possible, right? I mean, obviously it's a position where you're not gonna be able to get to everyone. Even on city council, you can't, humanly sit down with every single person, but you have to be able to understand when it's an important issue and when it's something that deserves, that face-to-face connection. And so again, just really being able to be accessible to the local community. Town halls as well, if the state rep job comes about, I think that's important to, keep the community up to date as a whole and in a more public format. So.
All right, thank you. Ms. Fisher-Mackey, what strategies or resources have you used or would you use to stay connected with constituents to ensure that their voices are heard?
Thanks for repeating the question. First and foremost, I believe that in order to represent the people, you need to be around the people. You need to be in all parts of this very large district, getting to know what is on the minds and in the hearts of people every single day. So being present, and I think that is really the number one reason that I chose to run. As I listened to my neighbors, as I listened to businesses, as I listened to public servants, they were continuously talking about the lack of connection to our current representative, and something needs to shift with that. I believe that not only is it adequate to receive emails, but you need to respond to emails, and I anticipate that there is a response rate, but I do know that people need to know that you've received their communication. I think that many legislators do a great job with newsletters, and so I think in addition to social media, newsletters, communication with our local and regional papers, that's important. I think also the final piece is that we have trusted boards, committees, councils, district boards that I could be connected with because they really are proxies. They will carry forward your priorities. They will bring up where there are barriers that need to be attended to and opportunities that we want to move forward and say yes to.
Okay, thank you. The next question, we're going to begin with Mr. Benham. Mr. Benham, the Chamber has identified workforce shortages, as we hear from our businesses, their top barrier to growth. What role should the state play in strengthening workforce pipelines, especially in rural communities like ours?
Thank you. Yeah, I know the workforce here is struggling, right? It's slim, it's getting harder. I think one thing, we need to focus on is obviously bringing more young people into the area as well. I think families, they're the future of the workforce, right? So we need to focus on that. And, that comes down to, at the state level, a lot of things, right? Focusing on our affordability, livability, the costs of things here. We can't have taxes going up every year. I mean, it's one of those things that turns people off more and more and more. So young people, we need to focus on for sure. I think we also need to partner with our local workforce organizations that we have here. Because they do good work, and I think they work with businesses to implement strategies and things they can work on to entice people to come here. And so, yeah, that's what I'd like to focus on.
I appreciate that you've asked this question, because we know workforce drives our economic growth. They're not separate issues. And I want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to the amazing teachers and school districts in our community, our education service district, our higher education organizations, our youth serving organizations, and Rogue Workforce Partnership. I say all of their names because they are doing great work. And I believe the role of a representative is to come in and amplify that good work. It's to hold state agencies accountable when they're getting in the way of these local partners who are the experts on what we need here in our community. So for me, to create clear pathways to local jobs, we need to just continue to remove barriers to that local workforce. Thank you.
Want the question again?
No, I got the question.
Okay.
Thank you so much. It's amazing. We do need workforce. And last year, instead of focusing just on workforce, the Democratic majority tried to pass 2 bills that were unconstitutional to discriminate against people like our community here, because you're not a certain color or a certain sex or certain thing there. I was able to stop those 2 bills on the floor, and they weren't passed. But this year, I forced them to bring them back, and they were passed without all the discrimination laws that were put in there. That's a plus for us. I've sat down with RCC and SOU. Their lobbyists are always up in Salem. They come to my office, and they sit in my office sometimes, and we talk about the problems we have here in Josephine County. I have a really good relationship with the SOU lobbyist. He complains sometimes, but he's also there and talks to me about the problems we need with nursing. We need people to do with industry, welders, all these things that we need in our community. And but there's a budget problem. There's a budget problem with our workforce and getting these things for our local community college. It's trying to do its best. We've expanded healthcare here, and I'm hoping we can continue to expand some of those things that we need but we also need welders. We need mechanics. We need people that can do labor jobs, do work a backhoe. These are things that people need to do in our community, and I love that clock. Thank you.
All right, our next question will begin with Ms. Fisher-Mackey. What specific project or initiative have you been involved in that you are especially proud of that reflects the values and outcomes needed to be our next state representative?
Thank you. This goes back to actually the beginning of my work here on behalf of Josephine County. Under Governor Kitts Hopper, our regional, our county-based commissions on children and family, which oversaw investments in early childhood, were asked to sunset. and we were forced into a process to regionalize. And what that meant is that Josephine County was paired with Jackson County. And my role in that project was to be the listener, to hear perspectives from both counties and help us, and we're coming back to that concept of compromise, to coordinate and collaborate to establish a plan so that we could continue ensuring resources made it to children and families and the workforce that are serving them each day. There were a lot of ideas and there were a lot of points where Jackson County could have led that process. But I'm really proud about the way that I was steadfast in ensuring that our rural voice was lifted up and prioritized in that regionalization plan.
All right, thank you. Mr. Younger, you ready?
I am ready. Thank you. Last year in 2025, I don't always agree with a lot of what the Democrats passed, but there was a bill that was about the CAC, which is across the street here. And I worked in child welfare for 25 months, and I understand the necessity of that building over there, and the investigations and the things that go on in that building over there, and the critical work that goes on there. And if you haven't toured, it's a great building. I'm glad we finally had it because we used to have to go to Medford for some of that stuff. We did have a minimum resources here. And I just felt people don't understand the amount of abuse of children in this county that happen. And that's not a Republican thing or a Democratic thing or an independent thing. There's abuse going on. There's drug abuse. There's all kinds of things happening. The poverty is so bad in some of our areas. I don't think some of the people in Salem understand how bad the poverty is in places out in the valley, what I call it. And the CAC, with their local law enforcement, use that building to solve a lot of issues and solve crimes and child abuse. And I'm really proud to be a sponsor of that and be a part of that. And I stood up on the floor and said, and a lot of people were surprised how much I supported the CAC because I have a background in understanding the abuse that happens in this county, and not even this county, but Jackson County. And I will stand by them whenever I have to. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Benham, you ready? You want the question again?
I'm good. Over 2 years ago, I helped found Main Street Grants Pass, and that's kind of been one of those passion projects that I've focused on heavily for the last 2 years, and something that really brought me back into the community and got me involved. When I started that organization, I had limited experience in terms of nonprofits and forming one of these organizations. So, it was really like drinking through a fire hose, and we were able to make those steps. We brought on a great board of directors, people that are passionate about Grants Pass, passionate about downtown, and these are the people that make things happen in this town. We were able to get some funding. We hired an executive director recently, which is a huge step for us. He's a great guy. He's somebody that cares about the community as well. And so, really what we're doing is we're supporting downtown businesses, and it's something that's much needed. You can drive through town and you can see that there's certain parts that are struggling, but this organization, our whole goal is to lift up downtown, help support our small businesses, drive tourism from out of the area as well. I think that's a huge thing. It's taking some of the burden off of, our local people, but bringing in people that want to experience Grants Pass and see what we're all about. We have some great business owners that deserve an organization that will dedicate time and energy to give them the resources they need to succeed.
Okay, we will move into the final question. After this question, we will wrap it up with the 1-minute closing statement, and we'll begin this final one with Mr. Juncker. What do you think is the best accomplishment of state government in the last 2 years?
Ooh, that is a hard one there. Well, you are definitely making me think on that one. I'm going to answer what I think. I don't think there is a best accomplishment happening in the last 2 years. And the reason why I believe that is everything around us is hurting. Our hospital is hurting. Our hospital lost $14 million last month. $14 million. So it's hard to have an accomplishment when the policies of the state are hurting Oregon. $14 million. They told me that we're on track to lose $20 million of our hospital. If we don't have a hospital, none of us get care. That's not a Republican thing or a Democratic thing. That's a hospital. I moved my parents back here in November so they'd have a hospital. They're living in Burns. These are things that hurt us. Look at the economy, it's down. We need change. When the reason why we're there is because of one-party system. There is no balance in our state government. There is no balance all the way down to the agencies. Everything is run by one party in this state. Look at the homelessness rate. It keeps growing. It went from 22,000 to 27,000. That's not, how does it keep going? We keep spending money. So there's nothing good happening right now with the one-party system. And the leader at the top is a Democrat called Tina Kotek. We need to get her out of office and change the trajectory of things here. We do not need another Democrat in the state legislature. We do not need another Democrat in another state agency. We need to change policies here. We need balance. There is a few good Democrats, but they're being pushed out by progressive liberals.
Mr. Benham, would you like the question repeated?
Yeah, sure.
What do you think is the best accomplishment of state government in the last 2 years?
Yeah, I also think that's a very tough question to answer. I mean, it's probably more like the last 8 years. I'm not sure there's really anything to track back to. We've just gone downhill in the last 8 years under the last 2 governors. But I will say, and I don't know if this is necessarily an accomplishment yet, I hope that it will be, and that they will see it through and it will actually make some positive change, but it's the new Prosperity Council. I think, they appointed a Republican to kind of head that up. I think that's a step in the right direction. And again, whether that'll actually come to fruition with anything positive, we'll see. I think, I'd have to agree that, the Democratic government, Tina Kotek, she will pick and choose what she wants at the end of the day. So it could just be a ploy to make it look good. But I do have high hopes that at least some positive will come out of that. And she truly will listen to what they have to say in terms of the future direction of the state of Oregon.
Thank you. Would you like the question again?
Yes, please.
Okay. What do you think is the best accomplishment of state government in the last 2 years?
I will speak as a parent first, and I was really proud of the House bill that restricted cell phone use within schools. I know that this empowered students to learn more and to attend to their really important work of developing academically and pro-socially. I also think that this has improved the lives of all of our education staff. I just want to reflect back, though, because I wholeheartedly disagree with this concept that the supermajority is the problem. I believe that it's hyperpartisanship. And I think that you cannot say that you are about balanced solutions when your only stool leg is no more taxes. No, we won't partner with you as an agency. And so I would really encourage everyone to know that good is happening and we should be a part of that.
Okay, thank you. We will move into closing statements, starting with Mr. Seth Benham.
Yeah, I want to thank you all for coming, listening. I think if I were to win this election, my first initiative in Salem is to build relationships, like I said earlier. That would be with the Republican caucus, across the aisle as well, and with department heads in Salem, so that Josephine County and District 3's voice can be heard in Salem. I'm tired of the status quo here in Josephine County. I'm tired of the drama. I've seen it on the last year and a half on city council. I hope that moving forward, the Republican Party in Josephine County can come together with more unity. Frankly, I've seen just unfortunate things occur in the last even 5 months of, my candidacy. And, I hope that we can open our eyes and see that the young people and the young generation of Josephine County don't want anything to do with it currently. And most importantly, I want my kids, I want your kids, and I want the future generation kids to benefit from strong leadership in Salem and across the board in all our elected positions. Thank you.
Thank you again for this opportunity. I'll just close by agreeing with Representative Juncker that what's happening now is not working. If we look honestly at where we are, Josephine County is falling behind in Oregon, and Oregon is falling behind in the nation. And I think our current elected officials are not producing results. They're moving through the world reactively instead of proactively. They're against saying yes to resources, and they've shown that they don't value collaboration or coordination with our local community. It's created strange relationships, and the difference that I offer is that I know how to work across agencies, across ideas, and I am asking for your vote in moving forward together.
Yeah, I just want to correct the record. There was no House bill for the cell phones. It was an executive order by the governor. But let's be clear. We've heard some spin tonight, and now let's look at the record. I didn't go to Salem to fit in. I went there to stand in the way of bad policy, and I have done that. When they came after your paycheck, I fought back. When they went overreach, I took it straight to the people with my referendums. And when it mattered most, I didn't flinch. Here's the truth. You can send someone who will go there to go along, or you can send someone who will stand in the way, push back, and actually fight for you. Because I don't answer to party bosses. I don't answer to special interests. I answer to you. And I'm not interested in the empty talk here. I'm answering to you. I'm interested in leadership, and that's what I've proven every day that I've been there. I've changed the momentum there. I have the highest conservative voting record, most freedom voting record. Every agency knows when I come in the room, if I agree with it, it changes the outcome. They support me. Every day I'm supported. I have to go. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, please. That's where I was going. Thank you all very, very much. Candidates, on behalf of the Grants Pass and Josephine County Chamber of Commerce, a very sincere thank you for your passion, for your values, for stepping up to put your lives on the line to represent us. And thank you for being here with us tonight. For my neighbors and the citizens of Grants Pass, thank you as well. An engaged, informed community is something that we pride ourselves on. And so whether you're here with us in person tonight or online, a sincere thank you. Remind your friends, your neighbors, your families, get out and vote. Thank you.